We are a success-driven culture. It's almost something we feel like we are mandated as Americans to be. We are about being successful. The challenge for us is, how do each of us define what it means to be successful? Because all of us have different definitions, amen? All of us have different particular markers that we think we need to check to be, quote, successful. Maybe when you hear that question, maybe for you, it's a question about your life. And for you, being successful is about a job title, or it's about a number in a bank account. Man, if I could just hit this number, I'll be successful in life. Or if I can just achieve this in my life, I'll be successful. Maybe it's a little more broad than that. Maybe it's just tied to something that you do. Man, you feel like, man, if I am doing this, I am successful. Or maybe it's tied to something that you've done. Man, if I had done that, or if I get to do that in the future, I'll be successful. Maybe it's not necessarily money, but maybe it's tied to something that you have. Man, if I could just get this, man, growing up, man, I always felt like if we had 2 cars in the garage and a boat next to it, that was success. Maybe you tie it to what you have. Maybe you tie it to where you've been. And there are people who would say, in my life, I've traveled the world. I've seen it all, or I've been to all 50 states. For me, that defines success. Maybe success for you is about what someone else says about you. Man, if I can just get my name in this publication, or man, if they'll just put my name on this building, right? People will know my name. They'll remember me. And that is success. Maybe you have a particular dream you've had since a child. And you're like, man, if I can just reach that dream, like that will be success. For some of us, like it's a little more specific than that. When we think of success, we think about our family. And so we have a certain level or a certain quality or a certain quantity or a certain idea of what success means for our family. Maybe it's tied specifically to your home. Maybe it's tied to the place that you live. Maybe it's not the particular house, but it's the particular neighborhood that you live in. Man, if I could just live in that neighborhood, or if I could just have a place by the lake, which would go with the boat, right? Man, that would be success, or a place on the beach, or like a view of the ocean. Like I would be successful. Maybe for you, it's not about that. Maybe for you, it's about your children. Man, my family will be successful if my children just do this. Or some people would define it as what my children don't do this, right? My children don't drink, smoke, or chew, or date girls that do. We've been successful, right? And for us, right, we're either there or we're below the bar, right? We see it from one perspective or another, like we got there so I can rest, or man, I don't think we'll ever get there and I'm struggling with it. Maybe for you, success in your family life is about who you marry or who you haven't married, right? Just got into this family, that means I'm successful. Married this man or this woman, I'm successful, right? My husband does this, I'm successful. My wife does this, I'm successful. Maybe it's more qualitative than that. Maybe it's about the temperature of your home, this feeling you get about your home, like how well your family loves each other. It's a good thing to strive for, but sometimes, right, we identify loving each other with a specific action, and we say, man, we're not really loving each other unless we do this action. And maybe that's the case, maybe it's not. So maybe it's about whether your family shows love for each other. Maybe it's about something else. Maybe it's about family dinners, right? If we can just have family dinner together every Sunday, even as my kids grow up and leave the house, bring the grandkids back, man, Sunday afternoons, right? We've been watching Blue Bloods, and we're like, man, I kind of like that Sunday dinner thing they got going, right? Or maybe we're watching a lot of Duck Dynasty, and then we see generations coming together over these awesome, right, meals with these wild game, and you're like, man, that'd be kind of cool. So, man, if we could just do that as a family, we would be successful. Maybe it's about the number of traditions that you keep. Maybe your family had these traditions growing up, whether it was a Sunday dinner or a meal together or meeting at a particular time of the year to do a certain thing, right? Or family, right, get-togethers. What do you call those things where your family gets together? Like everybody hadn't seen forever? What's that called? Reunion, right? We don't have those in my family. I don't even know what it's called, right? But maybe for you, that success, or maybe for you growing up, you didn't have any of those traditions. And so in your mind, you saw families that did, and you equated that with success as a family. And like you think, man, if we can do this in our family, have this tradition, then man, we're successful. And man, you're fighting tooth and nail to have those traditions. Man, you've been watching one too many Clark Griswold movies, right? Whatever it is. Maybe for you, it's about relationships. You have your own definition of what a good relationship is with your parents or your kids. And success is tied to the ways that you do have a good relationship or the ways that you don't have a good relationship. Again, right, you either had that growing up and you expect your relationship with your kids to be the exact same as you go on, or maybe you didn't have that growing up and you equated, right, having a good relationship with my kid means this or that, and I'm striving for that. Maybe you look at your family in a different way beyond all those things. Maybe you look at it from a spiritual standpoint, right? I want spiritual success in my home. We're in church after all. We're spiritual people. So we probably think about spiritual success. We ask questions like, is my kid saved? So some people would be like, man, if my kid just walks the aisle, man, I'm good. I've done my job. Not really, just so you know, okay? We're called to disciple our kids, raise them up in the Lord. That's another sermon for another day. But maybe for you, it's, did they get baptized? That's success. Do they want to go to the church, right? I know I make them go to church, but they want to go to church, right? That's success for me. Or maybe this is success in your home, right? From a spiritual standpoint, man, they treat their siblings well. Lord help us in that, right? Maybe that's success for you. And again, like you have your definition of what treating your siblings well looks like. Like this is treating your siblings well. This is treating your siblings well. This isn't. This isn't. And depending on what our perspective is, sometimes we focus more on the positive than we should. And sometimes we focus more on the negative than we should. Or maybe you're super spiritual. And you're like, success in my home is like, my kid's going to be a preacher. Have them come talk to me before they make that decision, okay? Or maybe it's they're a missionary, right? They're going to go win the lost overseas with the gospel, right? And unless that happens in my home, we've not been successful. Or maybe again, like your kids are out of the house, they've grown up. Like success for you, spiritual success is that they take their own family to church, right? There's all sorts of random things that we use to determine what spiritual success in my life, in my home, in my spiritual life looks like. We do it in the church too. How many butts did we have in the seats this week? Right? We have so many butts in the seat this week. We're successful. How many baptisms do we have last month? Well, we had 2 last week, man. That's success. Or my favorite growing up in the Southern Baptist Church was, how many kids got saved at VBS this year? I got to be honest with you, I'm a little bit cynical about that. Because it's like, man, if we only had so many saved, we didn't do a good enough job. But never mind the fact that it's the same kids year after year after year making the same decision that we're counting again and again and again. Right? Is that really a definition of success? We make it that. The amount of money that we raise. I mean, we brought in this much money to the church this year. We've been successful. The amount of money that we gave this much to missions this year. We've been successful. Or maybe it's just event to event. We had this many people come to our event this year. Man, I remember as a young student pastor, man, if I could get 100 kids at an event, I was successful doing my job. How many people walked an aisle? How many people signed a piece of paper? I obviously could go on and on and on. We do. We have all these ideas of what success is in the church. The problem is, so many of these definitions of success we come up with by ourselves, right? We don't we don't take a look at the scriptures and see what they have to say about what success is in the sight of God. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a German pastor, theologian during World War II, he made this statement about success. He said, in a world where success is the measure and justification of all things, the figure of him who was sentenced and crucified remains a stranger and is at best the object of pity. He goes on to say, the figure of the crucified invalidates all thought which takes success for its standard. In other words, right, in this world, in our church, modern day church, we want success. We have all these measurements of what success is, but when we look at Jesus Christ crucified on the cross, we probably wouldn't equate that with success in our modern day world. Man, he was so close. If he'd just been nicer to the Pharisees, if he'd just talked more about politics or less about politics, right? They wouldn't put him on that cross. He could have been successful. And yet, that's what he came to do. That was his mission.